thinking process, how it's developed.
Mhm. Yeah, how I see it in terms of its holistic historical perspectives, from me, I had this a very, from the beginning on, exposure to that, in the sense that, I grew up in Guatemala with my mother being Guatemalan in a very sort of like indigenous community, and then my father Austrian, so it was
Hmm.
two very different worldviews of sharp contrast. And one of the things that became really apparent to me from an early age was, in one hand, you have the indigenous worldviews of the world, who have that consciousness of belonging to nature, of being one with nature, and that has been a worldview that, I like to say, ancient future. That's found all across the world, and it still applies today. And if you look back at the history of the world, there's been this sort of like materialistic, hostile takeover, based on colonialism, like you were saying, Vivian. That really it's about uprooting people and planet, and that's the very foundation of our current financial system in our history. Is that degenerative exploitation where you can make more money out of destroying a forest than it is just by simply being there with its full diversity and its full life.
Yeah.
That's more, yeah, beneficial for the GDP. Another perspective of it is, you are contributing more to the GDP if you are someone who's using a car and is popping pills because they're sick all the time. So even if your disease is positive for the economy as it is right now because you're consuming stuff. So there's some very, very dark incentives in the way that people do things, and most of the majority of the people out there are in this sort of autopilot mode, who are not even questioning the very origin of why they are doing things, and they're kind of just allowing themselves to be manipulated by media, all of these things, and be put into a process of really not caring and really not questioning what's going on and really not looking within.
Yeah, it's easy to dig your head under the sand, how you say it.
Yeah, one can face it or run away from it.
Yeah. Fight or fly, yeah. No, but this is what I admire with Seeds, because I mean, when I was reading the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation, I felt like, you know, the first time I felt like, people behind this they really read a lot of literature about what's happening in the world, and historically and financially, economically, ecologically, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you think, for example, at the current global situation where there's this massive power structures that are based on degeneration, simply by allowing a certain percentage of the world to opt in, those power structures that are based on violence would start collapsing. It would really, people, it's, like I was saying, that money equals trust. And I think, trust right now is like the critical time in the world where trust is open for readjustment. And I think Seeds has that potential to really provide that trust to the people to opt in for another brand new civilization. And that's kind of our challenge right now. How do we share that message? How can we best serve that movement that is taking shape out there?
What I see as a very important thing is like to I'll say, from my experience, because I'm been in politics, for several years, I meet people from all of the political spectrum, left wing, right wing, center, and they're all full of ideas, but they are not always implementing their ideas, or they do not live as they teach, I would say. And what I'm hoping that Seeds can really become a true global mainstream currency, so that people actually, like in everywhere, really start using Seeds for practical projects. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That we start using it just for instead to show each other that hey, here's something, here's a currency that I trust. Why don't you trust it too? And use our local resources. I really see it also as something of the future, and I also see it as so much simpler than the current financial system that we have. I am still so confused by all these different currencies and how can the political situation influence the currency? How is that even correlated? Yeah, so I think it's beautiful that we're creating something that actually flourishes when you do good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, yeah, there's so much fragmentation out there. Like we've been fragmented and divided by all possible means, whether it is north, south, whether it is east, west, whether it is left or right, whether it is Democratic or Republican, whether it is black,
Yeah.
white, whether it is Muslim or Christian or what not, you know. And it's like the oldest strategy in the books, divide and conquer. And I think,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And how to say, the thing is also that divide and conquer is actually very efficient also because of the human nature, you know. Our brain is still somewhere in savannah and programmed that we are, you know, surviving in small groups, and we distrust people across the other side of the river, and we distrust strangers, and it's very easy to manipulate people, you know, with racism and xenophobia and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I like to say, you know, that one of the ways that portrays that perfectly is, especially related to currency, is fear is the currency of control. That's kind of how,
Yeah.
you just see it in animals, for example, how animals are controlled simply through fear. And if you extrapolate that to how media and how politics do that to people across the world, it's, you know, that's why you can see that campaigns or media is one of the biggest businesses out there, because you can, just through fear, you can control an entire population, and if you keep them in a state of perpetual fear, that's exactly how all of this happens, you know. And it doesn't take long to make that connection to see our current status, you know, from one gigantic fear mongering thing to the next, whether it is pandemic, whether it is racism now, it's constantly kind of, we're being put in a state of fear.
Yeah.
And our challenge is how to find unity, because, you know, duality is always secretly unity. Within that division, there's always unity.
What I can share as you know, with my background as a historian, is that when speaking about organization and polity and, let's say, unity, is that, you know, kind of living in a nation state is actually nothing, you know, nothing natural nor even so much common thing in human history. You know, most of our times we are spent in small groups like tribes, clans, and so on, city-states. But the thing is that humans have the possibility to organize themselves in larger units. What you need basically is, you know, storytelling, I mean, the social construction, and you need institutions that people feel connected to. Because, let's say, I don't have to trust my neighbor for, you know, different reasons, but I would not attack him with a gun if I have a problem with him, because I can go to police or to a court. Yeah.
Thanks.
So you need common institutions and common storytelling, basically.
That's beautiful. Yeah, 100% agree.
That's all included in the seeds already. So.
And how can we improve storytelling? I think that's a good question for everyone, both storytelling and institutions. I think maybe that's a good kind of transition. How about we make a quick little round to see how we can improve storytelling and improving as an institution in seeds? Would you like to start, Vladan or Lisa? I see you on mic.
Yeah.
Oh, ladies first. So.
Thank you, Vlada. Just because it immediately came to mind that for storytelling, for me, it's very obvious that we have to stop telling stories as if it was a facade, as if it was something that had to be perfect and not show any cracks and be polished. It just has to be truth, transparent. It should have all the emotions and your thoughts and even critiques in it. It just has to be raw truth. And I think that is how storytelling is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, it should not convince you to one side or one idea or in one direction. It should just be open so that you have all the information and can actually make informed decisions. That storytelling has to completely change. We should, and I see this sometimes still in Seeds too. We are super transparent and open, and sometimes we forget and think that we have to offer a polished front, but yeah, the thing is we just have to be true, and that's all, and that will speak to everybody else who is seeking truth. They will immediately know the difference, and I think that is incredibly important.
Yeah, I agree. So.
Can I add here? I was just thinking that what it's important from my side always of not a really good IT man is like the storytelling of Seeds. It's really important to be simple. So as I told you already, for me it's difficult to explain people, you know, the structure of how decisions are taken, what's going on in Seeds and all this stuff. It's a really complex ecosystem. Of course, it's an ecosystem, so it's complex by design, you know, by definition. But yeah, I think for from my side, it's really important to have a simple story to tell, like to your kid or your grandma. You say, Seeds is doing is the governance is this, and then there is this other stuff. I know for maybe for you, it's quite almost every brick is in the wall, right? So you can understand easily how the governance is going and how Seeds is going to work. And yeah, I think from that side, it's really difficult at the moment for me to explain really easily this. And maybe the storytelling should really focus on how do we explain the difference between Seeds and other blockchain projects, for example, because people get stuck in the blockchain stuff while he doesn't understand maybe when I talk about the governance that is behind. So I think maybe a good effort could be also on that side.
Yeah,
I agree with Paulo. Like my experience, like even, you know, journalists, politicians, experts, they do not understand blockchain. So
yeah, I think it's absolutely true what you said, Giuseppe. It has to be understandable, so not just transparent and open, but also digestible, let's say, and you have to be able to adapt it. And I think that's the beauty of Seeds. It's not just a super complicated blockchain currency somewhere high up there. It's tangible, and that's beautiful. Like it's tangible with the carrots that come from my garden and things like that.
Yeah, that's a very good point and very powerful. One of the things that comes to my mind is that in one aspect, you know, it's like we were talking at the very beginning, I think the difference of Seeds or the regeneration movement in general is that I think technology is here to serve people and not the other way around.
mm-hmm.
And I think it's also in terms of this storytelling and narrative, it's also way more powerful to really showcase the human story of really how technology is serving this human story to evolve, and that should be also the first and primary focus to see, like, to highlight that culture that is emerging well beyond the technology, because the technology is gonna constantly evolve and might be there one day that it's a completely different thing. But I think in terms of the world out there that is looking for alternatives and hope, it's also very important to showcase, not only showcase, but also embody that culture that is really universal, that is based on principles of collaboration and in principles of respecting nature, respecting other people, literally for who they are. You know, like kind of like that sense of, instead of looking for what separates us, looking for what unites us more. And I think that also that worldview speaks for itself, because people are exactly kind of looking for that belonging, that sort of connection to other people. And if we can also enhance that storytelling around that cultural aspects of what it means to be human, what it means to be a living entity in this planet in the 21st century, I think that's also something that really speaks very loud as itself, as also an institution that becomes an institution in itself, you know.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I really like this. And yeah, maybe to add, is like, I was thinking, when you want to explain to kids how, I don't know, bank work, you skip all the blockchain that maybe bank is using. I don't know if you get the point. It's like, okay, the bank is doing something great, let's say for your wallet, and that's it. People will stop at that. Maybe they will not look at how there is, like in Seeds, for example, there is these really big rewards instead of getting debts, you know, all these kind of very beautiful aspects. I think, yeah, maybe it's like we have to have a really short story that highlight what people needs to know at the moment, and then maybe they can dig deeper if they want. Maybe it's that I'm lacking when I try to understand Seeds, you know, just a really short story, what's doing Seeds. I mean, I know, of course, it's maybe difficult to explain. And then if I want to dig on blockchain or in the culture or in the governance, I will dig into that aspects. Yeah, this is I think really the point, because being an ecosystem, being so complex, we really need to focus on the synthesis. How do we explain this to people in a really attractive way? Otherwise, people will start to say, yeah, it's nice, but I don't understand. And then all the doubts will come to the people's minds, you know? And we, instead of doubts, we should give them curiosity, dig more on details, not doubts. Yeah, that's...
You have a very good point there, because as humans, it's easier for us to be pessimistic and intellectually lazy than to be curious and optimistic. So
Yeah, curiosity is the seed of knowledge,
yeah,
as we like to say.
seed.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. You know, people are right now in a state of non-curiosity. We've kind of like just adopted a world based on so many, on degeneration, colonialism, all of this destruction of nature, of each other, and we don't question it. So if we kind of tickle that curiosity in people, that is already something huge. And if that curiosity can be picked at scale, that's exactly, you know, an entryway for all of this to be possible.
Sorry guys, I was joining from almost the beginning, but muted most of the time. Still have some logistics at home, but I'm really loving the conversation. So for me, there's a fundamental thing that we need to understand what it is that is related with healing. And it goes beyond just the narrative of the colonialism, because the colonialism, the way I see it, and being a Portuguese, this is very strong, is just a consequence of all these historical patterns of how we separate ourselves from each other, from nature. So it's a separation narrative that, if you go back in time, you would find similar phenomenons, I do believe. So healing from that separation, it's really one of the most important things. And in these days, I've been connecting with this sense of rage because of all the separation that it's unfolding in the world in dramatic ways. And it is related with this sense of being powerless to face the challenges that we all foresee, because in our short histories, many of us already passed to those challenges, but we don't have a memory in us of how to overcome them and building a better world. And really the most simple message that I'm getting out of Seeds is how can it's really a question, is how can we build a better world, the world that we like to live in. And if we relate with younger generations, if we have kids, the world that we will let our kids grow in. And really from that very simple generation, then we will connect to a multitude of whys. This would be important. And for me, this multitude of whys, it's really important in the sense of we are so diverse, right? If we have a single narrative, it won't fit everyone, because some of us will be really attached in that simple narrative because we can express ourselves in it, but some of us probably not, because we still don't find the space to express in it. And the biggest challenge is this raising of consciousness. It's us not going back to old patterns as individuals, because if we all do this, then everything goes back. So the question mark is what is the simple narrative that we would all relate to? And for me, this is it. We are trying, we don't know how, but we are trying to build a better world for everyone. And I think that there's not a single individual that won't relate with this very simple narrative. And from my experience, just talking into Seeds, then the questions of, but this is not possible because of well, the scale we are doing this, or that money is necessary, or then all this otherwise unfold, and we can start building also some hope around this, because we are bringing all these elements. The other big thing that there are two other big things that I'm trying to make sense of. And the first is really this necessity of us coming together to make sense of the world, because that's not something that we can do alone. The world is so complex. We are navigating so many challenges as individuals, as collectives. And these spaces, like the one I feel we are holding here, are tremendously important, because we gain perspective on ourselves and on the world.
That most people will need this. Can you hear me? My headphones.
Yeah, yes. I admire you mentioned that the need of, several narratives or different narratives, because as you say, like we are, as individuals, we are all unique in one or another way. So
yeah. And this is really important, and making meaning all of this. So trying to be inclusive, we cannot build the better world alone. So we need to have a space where we can see the multitudes of possibilities that are there, and build the ones that make more sense to each of the communities. So, and the second thing is the installed power structures, and you can believe or not the conspiracy theories. I think it's a more organic, natural thing, unfortunately. But the other big thing is that, and this is another dimension that I'm really appreciating on Seeds, is we need to come together as a big collective, because the power structures that are there and are holding the present reality, and so are holding the present conscious level, they are powerful. So we need to start shifting at this massive scale. otherwise this would be just an isolated couple of experiments that we do here and then that might work. But how can we somehow build a context where some of these big institutions, they start to shift already, or we change them, or we create a better alternative for them, and this is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, we will go back to old patterns, or even worse. Because if you see the type of response that we are getting now, in many cases, they are going back and back and back in terms of conscious level. The conscious level that is triggering responses, it's gets a sort of regression, and that's really a concern. That's why some countries in conflict, like the United States, surprisingly, but it's a sort of the decay of the empire, right? So they respond with militaries in the street. That's a very basic response that inclusive in the United States, just because most of our collective attention is being drawn there. That's why some people in the United States that are used to be part of other countries, they say when this type of response appears, this is the end of a system. This is a decaying sign of a system. But we see a lot of this type of responses. So, yeah.
That's why it's good that Seeds is promoting, liquid democracy and decentralization instead of big government and big corporations. So.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you for that sharing, Paulo. Fully resonates. I have a question for, maybe you start with Paulo. Like, how do you imagine the world in 5 years from now? Paint as a painting of of what we're expecting, or what is to come.
So on one side, I'm a dreamer. So if I connect to my dreams, I see a lot of beautiful possibilities out there. Because there's this contradiction now that people really, I think that people are longing for a better dream. And when they connect to the sense of that, and each of us connects to the sense of that, then we are getting a step to go there. But at the same time, first there's immediate need in unfolding, I think, in all over the world. Some countries worse than that. So simultaneously, there's a lot of tension and a lot of anger being really built up. So it will be very easy to trigger on that anger and to trigger this type of tensions. And that's where my sense of urgency came, right? So we need really to start putting alternative solutions in places where need is very evident. So it's really an uncertainty, and I don't know. I dream of a very bigger. I had this visualization that keeps with me, where I was in this environment. It was really a city environment because that's where I live. I live in an urban space, but everything was green. And there was a garden, and we were surrounded by trees, and all the houses were glass transparent, where nature and the house limits and nature didn't exist almost. So you could, the sensation of being in and out was diluted. And I know that I was working, but my kids were with us all the time. So were other kids just playing around, right? So it was a very open, happy, joyful environment, and that's a big dream. And I don't believe the world will be like that in 5 years, but I think we can really do strong steps to get there.
Good.
Beautiful. Would someone else like to have a shot at dreaming of a better dream?
Don't get me started.
Basil, welcome, brother. How's it going in Tulsa right now with the craziness?
Great. I just spent all day today starting with seed strategy meeting at 8 a.m. That was about 18 hours ago, and just like flowing through all of that, and then meetings with I think I had another big meeting with David Brabbins and team, and then I spent all day on editorial deadline I sent a reporter out, I sent a photojournalist out to capture the protest. I stayed inside on the computer working, but I sent him out to capture 2 days of protest, and he was like me when I was 20. And so I brought him in and mentoring him. He did an amazing job, and we're doing a front page cover on the Oklahoma Eagle and multimedia piece, and we onboarded a radio station today to like integrate with the newspaper to get the messaging out with all of these first-person diaries about what people are going through right now with everything here in America. This is a global model that will expand globally. And then yeah, just getting that out, meeting deadlines, and it's getting closer. I see the future. So the future, I just want to be able to live again without restraint, without oppression. So the future I see in 5 years is where people can start living again. But to do that in 5 years, our agricultural tech is going to have to get up and running fast, obviously seeds. But if we have it all working, I see that we can achieve a certain harmony, especially if we do this community by community by community, and we just get every community kind of spinning up together in simultaneously en masse.
Beautiful, man. Absolutely love it. Yeah, we were also just talking before you got here about that sort of storytelling and narrative, and it's awesome that you're also doing that in your own way. We were just talking about this sort of individual stories that all weave into this mass narrative of the new world that is trying to emerge. So yeah, I look very forward to hear what you guys are putting together and see how we can replicate it and adapt it in other bioregions.
The film teams are hard at work. Nyla, everybody, Sarah, me, everybody is working hard on getting this, making this so that we make the whole process of the capture and the dissemination of the knowledge high quality, but also like almost automated. And so I'm really trying to simplify while not losing quality, but we're getting there. So it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
The Seeds News channel, I can't wait to really like dig in on. So I'm just processing that now and combining it with a few things. So yeah, that's really good. Just a more unified. So the idea that I put down today, just now before this call, was that the idea is that we're all seeds reporters, or we're all seeds reporters, and some of us are seeds anchors and producers and whatnot, but everybody around the world can be reporting the seeds news, and we just like pipeline that and organize it so it's like geolocated, but also curated for global consumption. But whenever you're traveling the world, you can find like the local seeds news because the app will automatically like propagate it based upon where you are. But you can also search to look at Costa Rica or look at anywhere. So I'm really curious to see how all the local bioregional anchors start to kind of like sort of lead their local communities like newscasting is supposed to be. So we will have this entire layer of community journalism that is built on top of Seeds, and we'll be using that economy for paying all of the reporters. And I'm doing this outside of Seeds, inside of Seeds, and I think it's gonna be a beautiful process over the next year.
I love that open, honest, and positive communication and storytelling. That's really beautiful.
Quite a drastic change from fake news, eh? News of fear and control and scaremongering division. Does someone else want to have a go at painting a picture of the future? Maybe, I don't know, Danny, I haven't heard anything from you today.
Yeah, hello, I'm also on the camera here. So before I was on the phone outside still, but I'm following with really, I would say, very curious, open mind and heart in this conversation. I really think everyone in this group has so much to contribute, and I would love to, catch even those conversations we have and have a process to follow on all the worthy content that's coming out of this conversation already. And also it's kind of nourishing my mind to think about so many different things, starting with what's going on in the world and what is our contribution with Seeds, but also on a personal level. And for me in general, maybe that's why I'm, taking a bigger loop maybe again, is I really see the moment of time we are in for each and everyone as an invitation. And as tough it gets, as especially, for example, in the US right now, but also I'm working with refugees a lot. So, I mean, we're talking about the Industrial Revolution and the countries where, there's riots now, but I'm working with many people who don't even have places where they can go rioting, right? So, but in general, from all this complexity, I really see it as an invitation for us as a collective, humanity, to give this time and space that something new can develop and also heal a lot of the stuff that we have been through as a humanity for hundreds of years. So evolution always comes in waves, and I really feel that now we came to some peak of, if you want to say, industrial development, whatever, and now we see that this is not the path we can follow up in so many different levels and complexity. So it's really a little bit like a pause button for me to just sit and, also embrace all the different emotions and thoughts and everything that's coming up. But again, also as an invitation to the complexity, because I think, as much am I also a communication expert, and I understand that we need simple messages, and we need to speak to people in a way that they understand without being overwhelmed. But I also see it very much as an invitation for everyone to dive into a complexity, because we need to do that to fully understand why we also need a regenerative community or an economic system. So yeah, I try to, stay in this moment of very personal understanding my own, I need this tension to expand my own knowledge, my own understanding, my own emotional field, understand my place in this time of humanity, and to see what I then can do and what we can do with these solutions. And when I think of how I dream of the next 5 years, I mean, first of all, I hope that even if he gets another election done, then at least in 5 years we have another president in the US. That said, for humanity, I really hope that we can meet each other with our hearts more, and less with our minds, and less with trying to convince people to move on or whatever, but really feel more. That's a big dream I have. And also from this point of when we meet each other with our hearts and the emotion or the feeling more, to really integrate more. So become the unity we are as a humanity, and become the oneness as we are. Because I also see that, you know, even what's going on right now, we need that tension to really expand into something new. So also embrace and allow ourselves to be diverse and to have different, you know, it's not always white, it's also black sometimes. So, but how can we integrate this duality into a life which is full of joy for everyone? So I also see joy in growth. I also see joy in expansion, but there needs to be tension. The question is, how much tension do we need for this expansion, right? So yeah, those are more or less my thoughts. And in terms of seeds, and also there it's an invitation to create a new world. And I really love the idea how everybody can contribute and is invited to co-create and use seeds as a form of whether revolution or just a payment method, or create new communities globally with like-minded people. So there's so many different options also here as an invitation that there I hope for in 5 years, seeds can be a role model or one of the ideal versions how people all over the world can come up with their own communities, their own creations, and invite everybody to be part of that. So yeah.
I just have one word to add for context for America, for Black America. There's one word that boils it all down of what is needed across the planet that is a resultant of our mass consumerist and industrial eras that were very destructive, but we needed them. We needed them to get to the iPhone. But here we are. And so that one word is reparations. So all that Black America is asking for from the oppressor who's been oppressing them for 500 years, British and American and the European colonialists, reparations. And
Yeah.
every tribe across the planet deserves that. Every plant, every tree, every critical habitat deserves reparations, and seeds provides that. So seeds
Yeah.
provides reparations naturally. It's built into the nature of the economy. So that's what we'll be talking about, and that's what we'll be having our Black leaders in America leading the seeds movement here from the ground, from the center of America, the beast, to change the nature of how we live and work together, and how we thrive together, how we create future together, how we manifest dreams together. And so this is going to be interesting.
Cool.
I totally agree, Basil. And I love also your, you know, expression of joy, saying, yeah, that's interesting, because by all means of, you know, having a lot of respect for all the grief and sorrow that's going on, I also see it as a big chance, and I really want to embrace it as a chance, and hopefully, you know, yeah, get everybody involved to create the new world together.
And I have also another point on this. I was thinking, now I really have to leave, but we should dig more about how seeds can talk about the not doing things, not producing, not having things as a reward, being lazy, stay at home and grow some salads and stay with friends and drink wine, and that's all. I mean, this is an aspect of life that we think it's important, but for the economic system, it's not important. We need to produce, you know, right now. You need to do something. Why don't we just talk about being lazy is a right, a human right, to be lazy and do nothing for half a week? Because after you produce what you need, the food, some health system stuff, then why I have to work again? I mean, we have this mindset.
Well,
I have this mindset of working all the time.
Lazy is
it's
a
really
word.
difficult.
Lazy is a word that's not even in some languages. But the concept of lazy is, I think, something we don't want to perpetuate, but your idea of being able to live again, it's our basic human right to be able to enjoy the planet, enjoy the land, and have our place on Earth. We are beings of this planet. We're born of this planet, right from the seed of life, DNA. It's all one. We deserve a piece of that. Other human beings should not be able to decide what we get to enjoy, as long as we are not destructive in our enjoying. It's basic. It's basic ecosystem management that we have to learn how to become caretakers again as a industrialized, post-industrialized, post-technological, post-AI world.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful mind mingling, mind bending, and it's exactly it. Yeah, it's the reality is that it's a basic understanding that nature already gives us everything we need, everything we want, everything already comes from nature. It's just our systems are constantly wanting us to have to consume for that. And yeah, I love Giuseppe's input about that laziness or simply, you know, being.
Just chill back, sit back, and just enjoy life. We all
Yeah,
deserve to just be able to chill.
like meditation, for example, is something so fundamental to life, and you know, it's not valued at all in our current financial system. If you could actually have a basic universal income for everyone to meditate an hour a day and then have a basic remuneration for that, imagine how fast the world would change.
Crime rates would drop through the floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
If people got paid in seeds to just like meditate, which we can do, we can easily build that in. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually reached out to a few mindfulness apps to say we could reward with seeds. Like for example, 1
Definitely.
hour of meditation gets 50 seeds. And then you can start like accumulating your seeds through the apps.
All of the, so as soon as possible, I want to start to integrate seeds in with all of the like charter school group, like high school, like, you know, explorer groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, things like that, to be rewarded in seeds for community participation, planting trees, you know, recycling, teaching community, teaching children, delivering food to elderly, things like that.
That's it, giving value to the invisible, which is so fundamental, and that's the power that seeds has. And even just by picking up that invisible thing, we're creating an entire huge economy that is much bigger than this economy that shapes our current planet. You're going to say something, Paulo, I think?
Yes, yes. So many things. I was just writing, giving value to the invisible. I think this is a powerful statement.
Number one.
And to the things that we really, really miss or need as mankind. That is really powerful. I can share. Daniel just brought me this exercise. I will share it in a very quick way, which is, we think of light like polarities. So the absence of light, black, intense light, white, right? If you pick a prism, and it's very easy to find, and some glasses, they work as a prism, and you observe the transition between black and white, you see that colors emerge out of your prism view, right? That's the exercise. If you approach black and white, so if you have a canvas of black and then a single stripe of white or the opposite, there's an emergent property of these polarities, which is a couple of colors that emerge. We are so fascinated by the sunset and the sunrise, because that's the moment, that's the physical moment where these polarities emerge, these new colors, the purples, the cyans, and the blue. And the sky is in fact blue because there's an immensity of light, which is what you can observe with a prism. There's an immensity of darkness and just few light elements, and that's why the sky is blue. It's an emergent property of these two polarities. And if we think of polarities like that, what wants to emerge, what is the beauty out of these two polarities that wants to emerge, then we shift our understanding of polarities.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
That's amazing. That could be a really sweet seed story.
Yeah, let's write all the sweet sweet seed stories and create a collage of all the beautiful stories across the world. Yeah, I think on that note, I actually have to leave you guys. I have to jump on my next call.
Let me say just
Yeah.
one more thing, because I don't know whether you guys follow the Telegram, but we have 2 calls today. One is for general organizations and one is for festivals and events. So if you guys have any organization who might be interested to follow a call, or also yourself, the one, I don't even know, Lisa, you might help me, at 3 o'clock, I guess we have the one for the organizations, and at 4 for festival and events, or the other way around, I don't know. Well, it doesn't matter. It's in the Telegram group. You can find it there. So you can read it yourself. But if you want to jump on, I invited some of the organizations in the Airtable and festival and events to see whether that might be a good idea, you know, to also jump on a call with a bunch of them. It was an idea Franz brought up last year in our call, and we said we try that and see whether that pulls more into the becoming active, being part of the community. So.
Awesome. Yeah, some mass ceremonial onboarding. Sounds cool. And Vivian, do we have a moment to see if you created a wonderful piece of
Yeah.
art?
I can't share. I need you to.
Oh, okay, I'll give you the.
Wait. That's
Oh,
me.
I think it's Lisa. Drum roll.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, great.
Ooh, I love the circularity already.
It's funny because actually I want to thank Paulo for bringing the polarity, because usually the darkness is like it's all the historical, it's all the fear and all the anger. But then when he said that, I kind of added at the end, this was the beauty emerged from polarity is, and it also brings back to what Basil was saying about like the Industrial Revolution gave us iPhone and all that. So there is, even though there's darkness and then the pain and anger, can we see also, then that's one thing that I really wanted to add, is that last statement from.
It's really beautiful, Vivian. Really nice.
Fantastic.
Vivian, I think for our content generation to go with your paintings here, if you, after you do these, after you get off the call, if you could just do like a short 30-second explainer or 60-second explainer of like the meaning behind this. Can you do that, do you think? Just a little audio recording on your phone and like send that to me or something?
It will take me a while, because when I do all these, it doesn't come from me, right? It's
Sure.
So my intention is really much just do the truth, and that's very much what Lisa's saying. The truth, it's like storytelling. The way it's like I'm listening from the heart level, where I'm just drawing what emerged out of this space. So it's not me. I'm just listening a collective. So I'm doing the collective sense making, so this is what came out from this group. So this is all a group effort. I'm just the one who is like the messenger, like what we talk about, the news reporter. I'm just revealing what emerged over the space.
Franz, do we have a recording of this?
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Can I get a link to that, please?
Let's do it. Yeah,
I think that's important. Like, so it's like the art, it's because I'm also, my intention is moving away the artist, the impression, like artists come drawing out from what they see the world. My work is social art, where I am just being the messenger as the person bringing in all the people who are, so the artwork is a collective art. All these pieces is from all of us. This is our voice. And so I think that's something I hold very true to myself. And whenever I do all this, it's a collective creation.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Vivian.
One more
so
question.
much.
Vivian, when we share this on social media, for example, do you have an Instagram we should tag?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really. so I guess I also would sort of need to like some of the stuff, like I think this is another piece this after the first one I would do, because like the last 2 session I did, I feel like those are a little bit more, in a sense it was more on things to do, like it's more for the ambassador. So I think sometimes it might be different. Like for today, the conversation, I think this is something because it's a collective kind of sharing. So I think this could be done in the social media. So there's different ways of what I see. I guess we'll have a discussion. Whoever's on like the communication is like, there's certain things that I think it's for the group to work on, like the next step. And there are certain sessions that we can do something like this, which is actually brings out the quality of the ambassador, the discussion. So there's different approach of how we can look at the different scribing and use it different from a different message. And that's how I think as well, when I am actually using my hand, when I'm listening, what makes sense, what kind of approach does it make sense for each session.
Yeah. And still, do you have an Instagram account? Can you put it in the chat so we can?
Yeah, sure.
I can make a suggestion to perhaps towards what my intuition is of what Basil was suggesting, which is at the end, wherever Vivi produces this material, we can use the same type of approach that Presencing Institute does, which is each of us can say a high sentence saying, I feel this when I see this, or I see this, or I notice this aspect. And that would be the perfect narration, because it's again a collective.
That's what I was about to like say, is like at the end of these meetings, everybody could say something about the visualization.
Yes. And then we record it. This is done.
Let's try that now. Paolo, you go first.
I see our own narratives building something beautiful.
If I may go next, I see the whole globe, the whole world. And because of the word unite in the center, I feel as if all the continents are moving together.
I see a new civilization emerging from an old.
Laden?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I see a, how to explain it? I see a planet, but not as a satellite picture, more as a technical picture of interconnected people with nodes, blockchain, social platforms, and so on.
I see this as a recipe for living on Earth.
Danny?
I see this is a world where everything that was, is, and will be is revealed and is embraced as, again, I want to say recipe to live together in a joyful way.
Amazing.
Basil.
Basil already went.
Vivian didn't go.
Vivian, so you say yours.
I actually see a globe. You know, the fortune teller, we're actually looking at it, and this is the future where it's emerging.
Nice.
Nice.
Bringing in that curiosity and sort of, the playfulness to it. I mean, I don't know, fortune teller, I'm not sure. They maybe just have a better sense of more creativity, imagination of the future.
Beautiful. Thank you, beautiful people. I appreciate your input so much, and hate to be the one breaking this round, but I have to go to my next call.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, everybody, so much.
Thank you all. Beautiful session.
Thank you for a meaningful meeting. So,
Likewise. Take care.
Bye.
Much love.
ciao from the archipelago. So.
Ciao.
Hey.
Hey. Basil,
No,
sorry, I have to run, but I still owe you
talk
an
soon.
answer.
Huh?
I still owe you an answer.
Oh, take your time. We're flying here. We're good.
Yeah, I see. Bye.